We are good. All right. It's not showing coffee on the screen. Okay. Well, we're live television or internet, whatever. We're having issues. But I'm good. I'm live. And today I'm going to be using this little baby right here. This is called a coffee sock. And I picked this up just recently when I was in Colombia. And I had to do a little research to figure out what to do with this thing because I have never made coffee in a sock. I know a lot of things about coffee, but not a lot of things about coffee socks. So anyway, we're going to give this a try. Today, I have put together some coffee, and I've got some hot water here, and I'm going to be brewing this in this French press, but without the press. So when I first saw this, I thought, oh, it's kind of like a pour over, I guess. You just would pour into it. But my understanding, no, that is not how you brew coffee in a coffee sock. So I'm just using the base of the French press here to hold the brew in. So I'm going to set this up here. And then basically, in order for me to get this coffee sock in here and actually have it hit the coffee, I'm going to have to use a lot of water. So I'm going to be brewing with 1,000 milliliters of water and 66 grams of coffee. And the reason for that is because this is immersion brewing, essentially. You'll see how it differs a little bit. But with immersion brewing, I like to go a little bit stronger with how much I use because it's not as efficient as percolation is at extraction. It takes a bit longer to get a good strong cup from immersion. So right now I'm going to take my coffee and pour it into a piece of cloth. This is a very common thing in a lot of countries. I know they do this in Colombia. I know they do this in Thailand. Sock brewing is just not something that we do in the United States. Oh, and I'm missing my scale. Hold on, I'll be right back. Here we go. I always wind up measuring for proportions. And some people think this is a little fussy, but the reason that I do this is because if you measure, you know exactly how much coffee you've got and how much water you've got, and it can be precise. And if I drink this and I'm like, oh, this is terrible, I can make an adjustment the next time and not guess. All right, so I've got my coffee here in the sock. Now I'm going to, I guess I'm going to swirl it like it's a pour over, actually, even though it's not. I'm not going to do a bloom or anything because this whole thing is going to be filled with water in just a moment. But yeah, I guess I should get all the coffee wet evenly because otherwise certain parts could extract faster than others. Oh my gosh, we have a long way to go here. Pouring. It's interesting because the water has not yet come to the top of it, and it does look like a pour over at this point, but in theory, if this doesn't overflow, which hopefully it won't, this will reach 1,000 milliliters, and there should be more water in here than there are grounds. It should be above the grounds. You'll notice too, the sock, I've never used it. I just took it out of this today. I literally just went in a grocery store in Colombia and picked this up. It was not at a fancy store. We're brewing in a very sort of traditional manner. Okay, that's 1,000. All right, now In fact, inside the French press right now, it's not draining, which is good. It is actually sitting in the bed. I am getting some bubbles, which is interesting. I think because it is a cone, so there's probably some dry coffee in there. So I am going to give it just a little swirl here. I don't know how good that's going to do, being that it's in water. Okay, I'm going to start my clock now, and I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. And during that time, I guess I will see if we've got any questions from people. Let's see. All right, let's go. Yeah, let's do this. Anybody have any questions about, I guess, about the coffee sock? Oh, I'm getting, by the way, so many bubbles right now, which means, wow. Okay, the coffee is actually turning over in here. Wow. All right. I'm going to get something to stir with. Hold on. Let's try a chopstick. It's better to use a chopstick than to use a spoon because a spoon would cool down our water. Right. Give that a nice stir. Hopefully not too much of a stir. Okay, we've not got the, there was literally, I wish you could have seen from over top, all of the coffee grounds just sort of bubbled up to the top from the bottom. And I imagine that's just the way that it's built, right? It's like a funnel where it gets really small at the bottom. And when you're using a pour over, it's not like that. And it's also not as much coffee as we put in here normally. I mean, I guess it could be if it was in a French press or not in a Chemex. But anyway, this I think this was a good solution. Okay, so we're at 2 minutes. Let me check, see if we've got any questions here. Yeah, anybody have any thoughts or questions about the coffee, about Colombia? I just got back from a week in Colombia. Colombia videos that are coming out very soon. Hello, who do we have here? We've got a bunch of people tuning in. So yeah, let me just do a recap. We are brewing coffee in this coffee sock. It is a 14 centimeter coffee sock that I got in Colombia. And it's just a cotton cloth that is wrapped around this sort of, almost looks like the end of one of those popcorn popper things that you put over the stove. And we're brewing it. We put the water in it. We're going to pull the coffee out in just a second here, and hopefully have made a really nice immersion brew. We're going to go for 5 minutes. This is kind of where I like to go with immersions these days. My sort of thinking on French presses is really guiding this. And there are a few sorts of things that I like to think about when I do immersion brews. First of all, I think the sort of traditional thinking on French presses is that you want to go with a coarser ground coffee. I don't do that anymore. I used to do that. But one of the things, there's a difference between when you make a percolation coffee, like a pour over, and an immersion coffee, because you're actually leaving coffee behind in the immersion brew, right? So if you percolate, if you pour clean water through coffee, you are pushing the all of the not aromatic compounds, the all the things that dissolve. It'll come to me in a second here. The soluble materials, you're pushing all of those into whatever you're brewing into your pitcher, right? And the water that gets left behind in the percolation is that water that you're pouring in that has nothing in it. With an immersion brew, everything in here is going to be the same strength. So the water that we leave behind is actually coffee. So you really want to brew things a little bit stronger than we typically do with French presses. The other thing, like I said, this is not quite a French press, but it's the same sort of style of brewing where you're just leaving it in the water. The other thing with this, it's if you think about when we do a cupping professionally for tasting coffees, we let that go for about 8 or 9 minutes before we actually taste it, and it's almost exactly the same thing as a French press. So just the time that it has with the water is significantly less than what it would have when we actually taste it. So I go for about 5 minutes, and we reached it. And I also grind finer, probably about the same way that you would for drip coffee. Okay, here we go. I feel like this is going to be messy, so I have this bowl here. But oh, look at that. It's not bad at all. We definitely have coffee in there. And imagine we'll just let it drip here for a minute because, like I said, it's all the same strength in there. Everything that's in the grinds should be about the same strength as everything that's in the water. All right. And on that note, there's plenty of coffee, so it's just, wow. Here we go. I don't know why I expected it to, like, maybe give in or sit down or something, but it's not going to. Okay, here we go. So I guess we'll give this a little try now. This is the same coffee, by the way, that we're featuring this month from Peru, which is coffee that actually came from the rainforest. And if you're like me, when I first heard that, I was like, that doesn't sound good. Aren't we supposed to be preserving the rainforest? Well, actually, and I'm going to be doing a video about this soon too. Coffee, when it's grown correctly, or when it's grown responsibly, I guess is a better way to put that, is actually a very good thing for the environment. You can wind up protecting. You can wind up protecting the environment. You can make it a place. So what happens a lot of times, and there's a recent Instagram post that I did just showing the difference here. If you do coffee in bulk and you are really just pushing out tons of quantity, you wind up just growing coffee and that's it. And that tends to be what happens when people don't care about quality, they care about quantity. When people care about quality, it's in everybody's best interest to take care of the environment, to create a thriving ecosystem. So birds come and eat plants and wind up depositing seeds in the ground and introducing nitrogen into the ground. That's how fertilizer works, the normal way of things. When things fall down on the ground from trees, when you've got animals and bugs and things like that that are in there, that's all very good for the soil. And so that means you're not dumping a lot of fertilizer on it. It also means that you're leaving behind this beautiful sort of ecosystem. So the Peruvian government actually partnered with this co-op in Peru to wind up allowing them to grow coffee in the Amazon. And it helps maintain that ecosystem. It also is a really good deterrent for anybody who would want to come in and illegally deforest. Okay, let's see. It smells very good. It smells very hot, but I'm going to give it a sip. Smells very hot. Feels very hot. Is very hot. I should have known better. Hold on. I'm going to decant this into another cup. This is where we could have introduced a cold spoon. Okay, so Another little thing here. Anytime you want to cool down coffee, just pour it from one thing and put it into another, because everything that you're pouring it into has a temperature and a thermal mass that will help cool it down. And that's delicious. It does taste a lot like a French press, even though the grounds are not still in the coffee and we've removed them. It's very interesting. It tastes a lot like a French press. I don't know if I should be surprised. It's a very similar brewing method. It's got kind of that sort of smoother, buttery, maybe more smoothed over flavors that you tend to get from a French press. I'm not getting like any, really clear flavors jumping out at me. I mean, they're here. I can taste them, but it's not the same as if it was a pour over. So yeah, that is the coffee sock. I think there's probably a reason you don't see this with specialty coffee, but I mean, like I said, this is not a bad thing. I think it's just a sort of traditional thing, and sometimes institutions we decide we know how to do things better. So maybe there's a reason for that, or maybe the bubbling that I saw and the overturning of the coffee. Who knows? Anybody have any questions about anything you saw today? The coffee sock. Looking for any comments here. No, I'm not seeing anything. So yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. That is our video on the coffee sock, which you should see uploaded in just a minute here, so you can go back and see anything that you didn't see. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.